Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the PSGL E Series 4, round number 6 of the season here in Canada. My name is Joshua Davis, and alongside me, how it has been all season long, is Dan Field. Dan, how are we doing?
I'm doing very well, Josh. Very happy to be back here for round number 6, PSGL E Series. Of course, drivers taking on the circuit. Gilles Villeneuve in Canada, very famous and historic circuit. It's been a part of the Formula One calendar, stemming all the way back to the 1970s. And Josh, the high-speed nature of this circuit and the long straights, surely that means there's going to be a lot of action tonight. Can't wait to get into it.
Absolutely. So it should be absolutely fantastic here. Of course, Canada's such a famous circuit. Of course, World of Champions at the final corner can catch anyone out, and it might catch some of the Williams guys. You never might know. Tricky corners, turn 1, 2, 3, and 4. Even the first sector, of course, is absolutely challenging. Sector 2, every part of this circuit is incredibly challenging. A few overtaken opportunities, of course, down to turn 1 if you're brave enough. Into the hairpin as well, if you're brave enough as well. Anywhere, if you're brave enough, you can probably make something work. Heading into the constructors' standings, then let's get you all freshed up with how everything is going. It's 243 points for Williams last time out, to Parnell Racing up into second, 177 points. Plays to 243. Veloce up to P3, 148 points for them, with Race Clutch just behind with 144. Haas F1 climbed the table to 5th, 129, with Thomas Ronhaar's win at Miami last week, with Viscero up to 6th, 116. So RHG 7th with 100 points. Team TF10 sit 8th with 89. SRT 9th with 65. And FVR sits 60th. 6th, 10th with 60 points. There we go, a little bit of a mouthful for you. Lineup tonight, it's been absolutely fun. They're probably the strongest grid we've had all season, if I'm being honest. And Tomic Pradzic joins the team, ex-Alfa Romeo F1 Esports driver, of course, raced last season. Caraton and Clay come back for Williams. Mena and Corden N'Golo at FVR, with Dylan Warren and Jack Laverty at TF10. Thomas Gal joins the Parnell squad, with this Van Pookie alongside him. Your Snorek and Alfie Butcher come back with RHG, with Conor Muir and Leroy Brown at SRT. They've had pretty much the same lobby since about France. Luke Smith and Ruben Progenio, the two Race Clutch boys. Obviously, Ruben Progenio, newly announced Alpine F1 Esports driver for the next season even. Sias van Erven and Thomas Ronald come at Haas, and Felipe Sousa and Leonard Goetze at VSR. Leonard Goetze, new to the team, of course, and will make his first venture out. Dan, that's probably, yeah, as we were just saying, probably the strongest lineup we've seen all season.
Absolutely, it is a very high quality grid. Very excited to see what Tomic Pradzic can do in that McLaren car, of course, representing Veloce this evening alongside Mer. Is he going to take it to the two Williams drivers? We'll have to wait and see, of course. Alvaro Caraton coming back in after taking a break last week. He was subbed in for Will Lewis, but now we can say that Alvaro Caraton has really been sort of the main man of this Williams team. Now that he's back in that seat, surely that the team is definitely going to be fighting right at the top for victory today.
Absolutely. So we're heading into qualifying now. Then first couple of runs out on board, it will be Luke Smith on the intermediate compound tyres, of course, in the Alpine coming back this race. Obviously, when Race Clutch join up with their pro drivers, it also ends into something very, very special for them. Luke Smith has got most of the points for Race Clutch alongside his teammate Patrick Sipos. Bruno Pedreño as well, just had a bit of an on and off season as well. Obviously, Imola wasn't his greatest of results. I think, off my memory, that might have been the only race he has partaken in, as Luke Smith crossed the line to a 1 minute 12.926, and I'm sure we're going to get much quicker times than that so far. But obviously, off the bat, Dan, coming into this one, Williams probably looking the turnout favourites. But obviously, Thomas Ronhaar came back with at Miami, of course. Shanaka Clay coming in 5th there. Just had a little bit of their off days, did Williams. Surely they can probably, I'd say, bounce back, but they got some good points anyway. But maybe coming back to winning ways, they'll definitely be on the podium.
Yeah, certainly 5th and 6th for Shanaka Clay and Will Lewis last week. By all means, that is a good result. They were able to take 20 and 18 points. That's a total of 38 added on to their current 243. So Williams, yeah, it was a good result for them, but they were beaten up by teams like Parnell, like Haas and Veloce as well. So really, they do have to pull the finger out. Got to get on that podium, be fighting for the win today. I think I'd expect nothing less from Alvaro Caraton and Shanaka Clay. Arguably, this is the most talented grid. You know, there's so much esports heritage from these guys. Alvaro Caraton's been in the scene since 2018. I think Shanaka Clay's been around since 2019, 2020, around those times. So definitely the pair of them have got the experience on their side, still have a lot of speed, and they have to be fighting for the win today.
Absolutely so littered with F1 esports drivers and F1 esports development. Of course, Luke Smith. Let's have a look actually around the order. Luke Smith has joined us with Alvaro Caraton, Joost Noordijk for the Haas development team, Tomek Pradzic, of course, at Veloce Alfa Romeo X. Of course, Thomas Ronha for the Haas F1 esports team. Of course, Alfie Butcher, the new man on the block. I say new man on the block. He's been absolutely only on the Xbox scene for a number of years as we ride on with Leonard Goetze as well. Mirko Suriano, Challengers driver, of course, as the new drivers have been announced as well for the next season's Challengers series. Congratulations to all drivers who did make the cut. I know Felipe Sousa, I believe, did. No, sorry, that was not Felipe Sousa. I know a few drivers who did. Mirko Suriano, I believe, was the one of them. Matthias van Erven, of course, as well for Haas. Shanaka Clay for Williams, as you said, Dan, has been part of the Williams team for quite a while. Ruben Pedreño, the newest man on the grid to the F1 Esports roster list, of course, for race clutch qualifying for Challengers Esports as well, and will guaranteed a spot if he qualifies, and I'm sure with the calibre of driver he is, he probably will. Right in the final corner then comes Leonard Goetze round the Canada street circuit here in Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. Dan, let's take a lap with Leonard Goetze to see how he tackles the circuit.
Yeah, interestingly enough, he's come out a little bit earlier than we would expect, about 2 minutes earlier on the Settler soft compound tyres. He heads through the first sector. Careful not to cut the inside through here. It's very easy to do so. Careful getting very close to the walls, very tight around this circuit in towards the second sector. Now it's pretty much mostly straight, but getting on these curbs can be dangerous. And off the exit of this corner, opening up the DRS. Not going to see too many overtakes through here. It's a high-speed right-hander into a chicane through here, so very difficult to run side by side, but Leonard Goetze decent so far. Of course, up next is the famous hairpin, where we're going to see a lot of last gasp overtakes through there, locking up heavily on the inside front right, getting a nice exit. Well, not very nice actually. He's had to correct himself ever so slightly on the exit, but now headed down this main straight towards the final chicane, where of course he will be met by the wall of champions. You've got to be very safe through here as he cuts that inside and unfortunately gets his lap invalidated. He's going to come across the line, scrape the wall on the exit of the Wall of Champions. 1 minute 9.639 for him. Very unfortunate.
Yeah, very unfortunate. You just realised there has not been any sound on the game, so I will hopefully try and fix that as quickly as possible. 2 seconds, everyone, but not sure why there isn't any sound, but I will check with you very quickly. But already off the bridge, Dan, not the greatest of days for, well, not the greatest of lap indeed, as it was an invalidation for Leonard Goetze, but surely can try and bounce back as a few more drivers starting to come in as well, starting to set their laps, one of which I believe is Felipe Sousa as well, and he's also invalidated.
Yeah, so VSR off the bat, not really in the strongest of positions. Of course, at the moment, they're not fielding their main man this season. Alexander Kraft, he's been very impressive. Of course, VSR Corny, I believe his name used to be. He's been very competitive in qualifying. He's been fighting in and amongst the top 10 for most of his appearances. Not representing the team tonight, so maybe VSR going to take a slight hit. This certainly isn't going to put them in good stead heading into the second half of this Q1 session, where we are now beginning to see more drivers coming out of the pit lane. Tomek Paragic making his debut for Veloce this evening. We'll see what he can do as he's on his outlap. One of the Aston Martins, that's an SRT driver of Connor Muir, has exited the pit lane. I see a Williams and an Alpine as well. And Josh, unfortunately, I've seen you've left the session here.
Yeah, I think it's just to try and sort out this audio because I don't know why it's continuing to cause me some trouble. So, Dan, if you could just quickly do some comms, radio comms for me, that'd be very, very helpful.
Of course, so Tomek Paragic at the moment is just about to begin his lap, headed down the casino straight in towards turns number 12 and 13. Going to want to prioritise a good exit through here. Of course, if you were to cut that inside on turn number 12, at beginning your lap, you'd have been validated. However, he's done this quite nicely in towards now turns number 1 and 2, keeping it in third gear. And Alpine has just exited the pit lane and maybe distracted Tomek ever so slightly, but he continues on his lap, headed down and towards Pont de la Corde. Turns number 3, 4, and 5. Very aggressive through here is Tomek Paragic. Scrapes the wall on the exit of turn number 4, and unfortunately his lap has gone down the drain, so he has abandoned this one. Might try and go for another run. Of course, he's only done one sector of actual running, not even a full sector here. So yeah, he should be all right to keep going on his lap. Meanwhile, Conor Muir has just begun his run. He's in now turns number 3 and 4, a lot cleaner through there than Tomac Parajic, and he's kept it going in towards the second sector. 19.266 through the first sector split, and that is purple for Conor Muir. We've seen a lot of surprises actually coming out from this man representing SRT. He made a Q3 appearance, I believe, a few weeks ago, in towards now the chicane at the end of the second sector, headed up towards the hairpin. Conor Muir is about to come in towards sector 3, and it is going to be a 41.431 at the moment. Purple through there as well. However, a lot more drivers have begun their laps, so I don't believe that Conor Muir will be at the top of this session come the end of it. Opening up the DRS now down the casino straight, where a lot of drivers, there's so much traffic through here. Conor Muir's going to have to weave his way through it. Everyone gets out of the way very nicely indeed. Now headed in towards the final corner, and he's done exactly what Lennon Gartz has done. He's invalidated on the inside right, and unfortunately he's tapped the wall on the exit. Might have sustained some wing damage. His lap would have been 1 minute 9.7 for him, but so far Conor Muir not in the best position. I'm trying to find who is up next on a lap. I believe it is Alvaro Caraton. If I'm wrong, it will be Shanaka Clay coming up towards the line. This is a valid lap for the Williams Esports representative, and he goes into the 1 minute 9s. 1 minute 9.372 for him. Up next will be, I believe, his teammate, one of the Mercedes of one of the VSR drivers, that would be, as Alvaro Caraton comes across the line. 1 minute 9.348. Very tight knit at the top between the two Williams boys, but so far they're the only runners with a representative lap time to their names. Ruben Pedreño has come across the line, Josh. 1 minute 21.686. I see you're back in the session. So far, Williams look untouchable.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Thank you for that, Dan. Hopefully the game now we'll hear some sound. Apologies for that. I didn't want to sort of stop right. I didn't want to try and stop as quickly as possible, but thankfully the game's now all working. Don't know why there always seems to be audio glitches, but there we go. Yeah, as you can see there, Alvaro Caraton, Shanaka Clay running away with it so far to Leroy Brown's third place on a 9.425, Caraton on a 3.48, and Shanaka Clay on a 3.72. Cordon sitting P4, very happy time at FVR. Cordon with a 9.524, immediately replaced by Is Van Pookie to a 9.390, and gets a little bit closer to the Williams boys indeed. Jack Laverty crosses the line now, goes up to P10 for TF10. Not a bad lap there for him, as Leonard Goetze is on a recovery as well, going to P12. He's definitely have to go again with that one. Felipe is also on a lap at the moment. He heads towards the final corner. Felipe Sousa coming up towards the line now for Visquera, across the line and goes up to P12, just beating his teammate by 3,000ths of a second. That is very close between the two of them. Thomas Runner also on a lap, I believe, invalidates his first one and gets a little bit rough out of the second as well. And a little bit rough there, and obviously I think that might be a first invalidation. It's another invalidation for Thomas Runner again. He can't really seem to get the grits around Canada.
Yeah, on the back foot is Thomas Runner at the beginning of this session. He still has 5 minutes left to go, so we can easily come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Strap on a fresh set of the soft compound tyres and then go once again. So far though, Alvaro Caraton and Shanaka Clay, the two fastest in this session. Isfat Pookie continuing to impress for Parnell Racing. I believe he's sort of become a staple for this team. I don't actually remember the last time they didn't have Isfat Pookie racing for them. Teammate Thomas Gal making his debut this evening. Decent enough so far. P8 for the time being. Drives at risk at the moment. Alfie Butcher in 15th position. Could see him crashing out very early. But in the drop zone, Modesto Mena, both race clock drivers of Luke Smith and Ruben Pedreño, and Conor Muir and Thomas Ronhar, yet to set a lap time. However, still plenty of opportunities to go once again. I'm noticing both Veloce drivers seemingly in a lower position than we would be expecting. 11th and 14th. Nicolas Soriano and Tomac Parajic definitely going to be in a tough position with 4 minutes left to go.
Absolutely so. Caraton retiring as well. So does Isfan Pookie. First and third probably will be safely through into the next session. Probably going to look at a low 0.6. I'm going to say low 9.6 will get you through into qualifying to, say, Thomas Gal, and probably below we'll have to go again. It's very close indeed between Thomas Gal and Matthias Van Erven. I know a few people have him as the fan favourite for tonight. Thomas Gal Cook is what has been said over on the Discord and also in the live chat. But Shanaka Clay also retires as well. Thomas Cow, obviously new to the E-Series scene. His first race this season. It might be his first race for Par now as well. Knows one of the new drivers that they have recruited, and a very fast driver he is. I believe he's also a reserve driver. And Joost Noordijk has a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking down.
Yeah, that'll get removed. I think we're going to have a lobby restart after this one. Illegal blocking is he's not blocking anyone. He's in front of Alfie, and they're both on their outlaps going very slowly, trying to burn some fuel off. And yeah, I think he's going to be able to report that one pretty easily. Nothing went wrong for the two R8G drivers, and so he will, I think we'll have a lobby restart at the end of this one. Joost Noordijk has nothing to worry about. He's going to keep on going. He is the furthest one out on his outlap. Currently MP7, he's in a decent enough place. Only the top 4 feel safe enough. Shout out as well to Leroy Brown, 1 minute 9.425. SRT seems to be doing very well around this circuit. One of Colin Muir is able to get up to around his teammate. From what I remember, his lap looked pretty decent as he was on it before he invalidated. We'll have to wait and see as we get these final runs underway. Joost Noordijk and Alfie Butcher are going to be the first two to start us on these laps. Alfie Butcher behind his teammate Joost Noordijk, who's going to get his lap underway.
Absolutely, let's ride on board then with Joost Noordijk heading into turn 1, then braking very hard into 4th gear and a flick of the wrist to 3rd gear, up into 4th for the traction, running the coast to the left-hand side and let the car drift out as much as it can and flick back to the right-hand side for a quick right left-hander. Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton going to blows there in 2019. And it's an invalidation for Joost Noordijk, so it will be his teammate Alfie Butcher, who's next across the line, who's also invalidated. And Alfie Butcher is in deep trouble. He's currently sitting 15th. He's going to have to try and recharge that battery and save a lot of fuel to try and go again. Next up is one of the Haas guys. I believe that might be Matthias van Erven. No, it's not. It's his teammate Thomas Ronnar, who hasn't set a lap time on the board. And you can know Thomas Ronnar has something special up his sleeve when he's on a qualifying lap. You might see a pole position time coming up here. 41.205 in sector 2 is purple for the Dutchman as he heads out the final couple of corners out of the hairpin, heading up towards the curve, through to 5th, into 6th, 7th gear. The DRS smacks you in the face as you head up towards the back straight. The Wall of Champions will meet you in a couple of moments' time. Thomas Ronnar heading there right about now, braking hard on the 100-meter ball. Flick it towards the right and a flick towards the left. Nice and taken for Thomas Ronnar as you head up towards the line, fully foot to the floor. Across the line he will go to a 1 minute 9.394. P4 is enough for Q2, 1,000 slower than Istvan Pukki. Not a bad time at all. Felipe Sousa is making his way through sector 2 as well. He's currently down on his time. More people improving, as so is Dylan Warren. Let him cook. Dylan Warren, 109.254, beating the 2 Williams. And I'm sure that will bring a lot of smiles to the TF10 faces over in Spain as his teammate Jack Laverty makes his way through the Wall of Champions, 2/10 up on his time so far, crossing the line. P10 for him. The 2 Veloces next across the line. I believe that's Mirko Soriano needs to do another lap. Toik Pradzic also needs to do another lap. It's all on this lap then, Dan.
Oh dear, and I've seen Joost Noordijk spin out in the 2nd sector. Done. He'll be eliminated from, well, if someone else overtakes him, he'll be eliminated from qualifying as Colin Muir retires from the session in 15th place. He's also had an accident in the 2nd sector. There's a bit of a car park down through there at the end of that part of the circuit. We'll see who is on a lap. Leonard Goetze is in the final sector now. He's got Alfie Butcher just ahead of him though. Butcher in that drop zone. He's currently 20th position. If he invalidates through here, it's all over for him. But no, he's going to be able to keep on going. Can he troop towards the line? What's he going to do? 1 minute 9.507. He gets into P12. Should be safe for this session as Leonard Goetze gets out of the drop zone. Joost Noordijk eliminated from this session. Tomek Paragic and Mirko Soriano, the last 2 drivers in danger here. What can they do? Soriano will be the first man to cross the line between the 2 Veloce Elite races is now through turns number 12 and 13. Bashing the wall on the exit through here. Mirko Soriano coming up towards the line. Can he get out of the drop zone? It's P17. He's eliminated from here. Tomek Paragic, though, is able to go into P13. Eliminates Conor Muir. He lives to fight another day.
Yeah, just unlucky for Mirko Soriano there, tapping the wall on the exit, and that is good night to his lap. His debut in the series for Veloce and ends up on 18th on the grid. Tomek Paradzic in P13. I'm sure he was just trying to go for qualifying 2, not really trying to set the timing screens alive but he is through into P13. 109.479 was enough. And a cut-off time by Luke Smith with a 109.527. Interesting that Luke Smith is that far down, but we go to the end of qualifying. Bit of a shock to the system, to be honest. It's Dylan Warren who takes the top sheets by about half a tenth of a second to Corden N'Golo in P2. Caraton is third with Shanaka Clay in P4. Matthias van Erven sits P5 with Thomas Gal in P6 with this one. Pookie 7th. Thomas Ronha is P8 with Leonard Goetzer in P9 and Leroy Brown in P10. Jack Laverty will sit 11th. Ruben Pedreño in P12. Tomic Paradzic will be P13 with Alfie Butcher in 14th. Luke Smith in 15th is 15th, and Conor Muir, Joost Noordijk, Mirko Soriano, Felipe Sousa, and Manesha Mena are all knocked out of qualifying. Joost Noordijk with that 5-second penalty probably will be removed. We might have a lobby restart after qualifying, but Dan, that's the first few phases of qualifying 1 done. On to qualifying 2.
Yeah, Joost Noordijk and Mirko Soriano, definitely the big names going out in this session. Of course, part of the pro teams, RAG and Veloce Elite. Of course, both teams have one other driver to compete in this session, so all is going to be banking on them. But Veloce and RAG on the back foot. Unfortunately, we lose Conor Muir as well as Felipe Sousa and Modesto Mena. And Leonard actually blocked Conor Muir on his lap, according to Conor, of course. So maybe some interesting stewards reports could be coming in after this race. We'll have to wait and see. But qualifying 2 about to get underway. 15 minutes to decide, fighting for pole position in the final parts of qualifying.
Absolutely. So let's get to qualifying 2 right now. Just confirmed from the Boss Big C, no qualifying restarts so far. So I think that will mean Joost Noordijk's 5-second penalty, 5 place penalty will still be taken. Not really much of a difference from 17th down to 20th, but we'll have to fight for that one up the field as we're all getting ready for qualifying 2. A lot of action out in the pit lane. We'll see who is out first at the moment. We'll have a look to see. It is an Alfa Romeo. It is Alfie Butcher, the only man for RAG to make it through into qualifying 2. His teammates, as we've just said, Joost Noordijk out in qualifying 1. So it is Gal, Pookie, Laverty, Caraton, Paradzic, Ronhart, Butcher, Van Erven, Warren, Goetzer, Smith, Clay, Corden N'Golo, Pedreño and Brown, who all make it through into Q2. And we have 14 minutes to decide our Q3 spots.
We'll have to wait and see who's able to get through around this Canada circuit. Of course, in 1982, named after Gilles Villeneuve, who died earlier in that year, to honour the hometown hero. Fantastic driver. I don't think he's one of the most underrated drivers in history. The stats really do not tell the whole story of how dominant he was just from watching clips. Seems to be incredible, and what a kit to have your name honoured by this track. Very iconic, of course, in Formula 1. The Wall of Champions, definitely where it hits the hardest. You go too fast through turns number 12 and 13, you'll be met in the face by that outside wall. Could completely ruin your qualifying or indeed race. But here comes Alfie Butcher on what I'd imagine is a scrubbed set of tyres. He's headed in towards the first corners.
Absolutely. So let's take a lap with Alfie Butcher then as he rides through the hairpin, very, very close to the Mercedes of Leonard Goetzer. They're just getting out there, very, very close indeed. Flicks to the right and a flick towards the left as he heads up towards the Sector 1 Delta split. What's it going to be? It's going to be a 19.446 in the first sector alone. Flick towards the right and another flick towards the left. Sebastian Vettel lost the race win in 2011, I want to say, on the last lap to Jenson Button in the mixed conditions. A four pit stop race. We saw those all those years ago. A 4-hour race. It was one of the longest we've ever seen in Formula 1. We might see a little bit of a recurrence today as he brakes hard into the hairpin, flick towards the right hand side, let the car drift out to the left, up towards 4th, through into 5th, up to 6th with the DRS who slaps you right above in the face. The DRS will eliminate for you right about now as you head under the Pirelli barriers in towards the Wall of Champions. And does he go for a flick towards the right? Yes, he will. Braking hard on the 100 into the right, flick towards the left, a little bit of a clutch from the curb as he comes towards the line now, braking hard into turn number 1 as he will come, and it's a 1 minute 9.742 for Alfie Butcher. Thomas Ronner obliterates that to 109.358. Might be a scrub set, we might not know. Shanaka Clay with a 2, Dylan Warren with a 6, Van Erven with a 6, so I'm probably going to assume Thomas Ronner is on a fresh set of tyres there.
No way that is on a scrub set of tyres. I mean, Thomas Ronner, we know he's quick, We know he's got pace, but that is an incredible lap time coming out from him. If that is a scrub set of the tyres, if that is a fresh set, he's probably not going to be too happy with that one there, given how that was sort of around the pace he needed to be in Q1. Q2, it does step up quite a lot, but you can just see the differences in gaps between himself and the rest of the field. Shanaka Clay's gone P2 with a 109.532. And then Dylan Warren, once again, he's having a good qualifying session from top to Q1. He smacks the wall somehow in towards the hairpin, but yeah, Dylan Warren, very talented driver. A few years ago, he was tipped to be the next big thing in F1 esports. He's gone a bit quiet as of recent, but if he puts up consistent performances like we've seen in Q1, surely this man is going to rewrite himself as the next favourite to be in F1 esports. We'll have to wait and see. But at the end of all their bank collapse, all the runners now are coming back into the pit lane, strapping on a fresh set of the tyres, going once again with just under 11 minutes to go.
Absolutely, Villeneuve Goetze just crossed the line now to do a 10.1. He's on a scrub set of tyres as well in that session. Thomas Gal, Jack Glavity, Alvaro Caraton and Gordon Ngolo all invalidating their first couple of runs, but so far it is Thomas Ronner on 109.358, and as he said that, I'm sure he's not going to be very happy with the lap he did on 109.3. As he said, probably was going to be enough for about the top 10 in Q number 1. But you might see yourself eliminated in Q2 with that lap time. We'll have to wait and see what he will do. He's on another set now. He's just flicked on to another set of the soft compound tyres. So unless he's got a few more tyres for Q3 up his side, but it's going to be tight to see him through if he wants to do another lap. And probably going to say he's going to have to do one if he wants to try and see himself into Q3. So Alvaro Caraton is on there at the moment. He's invalidated once again. Not really having the greatest of times out there as Alvaro Caraton at the moment. His first couple of runs in qualifying too. Well, has won pretty much the majority of the races this season. 4 out of the 6, I want to say. Yes, with Shanaka Clay winning at Zandvoort and Thomas Ronner winning last week at Miami. Probably one of the most successful drivers in the E-Series so far, and probably going to be one of the tips today as well.
Yeah, we've got a few more drivers coming out of the pit lane now. Tomek Paragic, we know from past experience, he does really like to come out early in these qualifying sessions. He's living up to that reputation. He's got Dylan Warren just behind him. Fair play to both Tier 10 drivers, by the way, getting into the next session. Of course, it is very difficult for these community-based teams to be fighting it out with the very top pro teams in the F1 esports teams, like Veloce, like Haas and Williams, Race Clutch and RAG. And they've done very well to get both of their runners into the next session. The way that Dylan Warren's going, you could definitely see him in towards Q3. Jack Laverty definitely going to need to pull something out if he wants to join his teammate in the final parts of qualifying. As Tomek Paragic currently on a 1 minute 9.997. It's not a good time by any means compared to these standards of course, but see what he can do as he is on his outlap now, just getting as much heat into the tyres as possible, weaving his way down the casino straight. Careful not to get this and next lap invalidation through tyres number 12 and 13 on the power off the exit of the corner and running in towards the first corners. Here comes Tomek Paragic on a fresh set of the tyres. He heads down in towards the first corner.
Let's have a look then with the Polish F1 champion, of course, for his country. He's been an absolutely fantastic driver and an inspiration for Poland in esports as well, as he flicks towards the sector 1 and flicks towards the right and flicks towards the left as he head up towards the very, very tight sections of sector 1. 2.5 tenths already up on his personal best. A huge improvement for Tomek Paragic as he heads out the final couple of corners under the Armco barriers in towards the DRS zone. A lot of overtaking opportunities can be done here if you're brave enough. Under the Rolex barrier, which flicks towards the right hand side, which flicks back to the left, using as much curves as you possibly can to get the traction going and get the acceleration going as much as you can. Hanging into the hairpin, half a second up now on his personal best. Much, much better for Paragic on that fresh set of soft compound tyres. Heading up towards the curves then, flying towards the line then, into the DRS zone, under the Ferrari barriers, under the Rolex barriers, under every single barrier you will see at this race circuit. Heading into the Wall of Champions then, it will be a flick towards the right and a flick towards the left, braking just after the 100 metre board. Flick to the right, flick to the left, a little bit of a moment out of the exit, keeps it nice and going across the line for Tomek Paragic, the Polish sensation, and his pole position, 109.305, about half a tenth quicker than Thomas Ronner at the moment. Game on for Tomek Paragic.
But if Thomas Ronner has done that lap a little bit earlier on in the session, track evolution be very effective around this around on this Formula 1 22 game. So Tomek Parajic may not be as quick as it seemed if Thomas Ronhar's gone that close to him, as Shanaka Clay comes across the line immediately. Jumps Tomek with a 1 minute 9.077, a very impressive time from the Williams representative this evening. We've got Rubadrenio coming to the line. He goes 200th quicker than Shanaka. He goes into the 1 minute 9.0s. Two drivers joining them there. Tomek Parajic already now, Josh, looking to be on the back foot, as I believe Luke Smith just come across the line, but he might have been invalid on his lap, where he's just started his run now, as Matthias Van Erwin comes across the line, goes about 10 slower than the top two, 1 minute 9.134. We got a few more drivers coming up towards the line. One of the Parnell boys, that's Tamas Gal, coming up, and he goes into P4. Leroy Brown, very impressive at Q1. He puts himself into P7 inside that top 10 for the time being. And that is all the laps completed at the moment. We'll see if anyone else is on a run. I believe Luke Smith was one of them. Alfie Butcher as well is invalid, unfortunately, on his lap. But we'll see what Luke Smith can do, as someone's just come across the line. But Isfan Pookie getting himself into the top 10. Luke Smith, now Josh, is 3/10 up in his previous best lap. In that drop zone, he needs to pull something out here.
Yeah, Luke Smith definitely indeed. His Caraton is invalidated once again. He's going to need something here. Is Alvaro Caraton, because he's only got 5 minutes left to do so. He's going to have to try and pull something out of the bag here. We'll ride on board with Luke Smith, who I believe was going quicker, through towards the right and through towards the left, as Dan was saying. DRS wide open for the Alpine man. It's going to be much, much quicker than last time. P6 for him, about 0.6 of improvement to a 109.342. And it's going to be tight for Luke Smith, but he probably might be worth going for another run there. P6 so far with a 109.342. Tomek might just be around safe. He might want to go again just to solidify that. But everyone in the top four, Thomas Gal, Matthias Van Erwin, Shanaka Clay and Ruben Pedreño, all doing one lap so far into the 109.1s, 109.0s. And I must say, Thomas Gal really improving, really doing very, very well for Par now. Par have definitely been the standout team of the community-based team so far, currently sitting P2 in the standings. And Thomas Gal, one of the new kids on the block, really living up to his name there.
Yeah, absolutely. Thomas Gal doing a good job. I'd say that top four is all safe from Pedreño, Shanaka Clay, Matthias Van Erwin, and Thomas Gal can all, I'd say, retire in the pit lane now. Take it easy for the rest of Q2 as Alvaro Caraton comes across. 0.222. I wonder if that's going to be safe for the Spaniard. Might be a little bit touch and go, but I think he can get himself into Q3 with that lap. We got a few more drivers. Actually, no one else really on a lap at the moment. Luke Smith pulling back into the pit lane. Just 4 minutes left to go through here. Current drop zone at the moment is Dylan Warren, Alfie Butcher, Leonard Gertz, Jack Laverty and Gordon N'Golo. We haven't seen the bottom two do a lap at the moment. Dylan Warren, we saw him top in Q1, being in the drop zone in Q2. Not a good look for the TF10 team at the moment to have both drivers in the drop zone. Hopefully in their final runs they can do a nice lap indeed. Leonard Gertz, one thing to pick up on, Josh, is that he hasn't got any fresh tyres for the rest of this session. He's used it all up in Q1. Made a tweet about it 9 minutes ago, so not looking good for VSR. By the end of this session, they can have both drivers eliminated.
Absolutely. So Leonard Gertz is really going to have to put one of the laps of his life on a scrub set of the soft compound tyres if he wants to make himself through into Q3. It's probably the odds are very much stacked against his favour, as Han Solo would said in Star Wars, never tell me the odds. Alfie Butcher is on a lap at the moment. He's just come out of the pit lane alongside Leroy Brown, who's just behind him, followed by Tomek Parajic in the McLaren alongside an Alpine, who I believe is Luke Smith, and yes it is, Ruben Pedreño. His teammate retires from the session at 109.058, safely through into qualifying 3 alongside Shanaka Clay, Matthias Van Erwin and Thomas Gal, as we've just said, as Alvaro Caraton puts it to P5 with a 109.222. Pretty sure it's going to be safe for him as well, so 6 downwards, everyone else is going to have to go one more time then. We have Alfie Butcher, who'll be first to cross the line, followed by Leroy Brown, followed by Tomek Parajic, Luke Smith and Dylan Warren just behind him, I believe it will be. Yes, it is, followed by Haas F1 Esports driver of Thomas Ronha, followed by Isfan Pookie, followed by Gordon N'Golo, followed by Jack Laverty as we start our final runs in Q2.
Alfie Butcher then headed out of the final corner. He'll get the power down as early as possible as he heads down and towards turn number 1. He takes this in around about 4th gear through here, down into 3rd episode slightly. No, he's going to keep it in 4th. The drivers hardly touch any gear beneath fourth at the moment, as now through turn number 2 he goes. Virage Senna up towards Pont de la Corde. Very easy to invalidate through here, but Alfie Butcher taking this very nicely. So far in this session, been tough for RHE. Already Yost Nordic has been eliminated. Alfie Butcher in danger of going out at the moment with 1.5 minutes left to go. He is improving by over a 10. Now down in towards turn at number 8. So flick fast through the right and then in towards the left on the curves, on the right in the curves on the exit, headed up towards the hairpin down at turn number 10. Sees improvement through here, almost 3.5 tenths of a second. Alfie Butcher looking very nice indeed on his lap as he heads out of the hairpin, runs very wide off the exit through. That was a late apex for Alfie Butcher, opening up the DRS where he's going to reach the speed trap at the end of this straight. We'll see what he can do, reaching speeds of up to 201, 202 miles per hour at the braking zone. Careful not to invalidate through turns number 12 and 13, then keeping it tight to the right hand side of the final corner. To come across the line, he goes into P3 at 1,000 quicker than Matthijs van Erven. So 1 minute 9.133 for him. Should see him safely towards Q3.
It should do indeed, as Luke Smith has invalidated. Alvaro Carasson is about to cross the line. He's going again. So is Leroy Brown, as Dylan Warren once again into the 8s. 108.9 for him. Tomek Paradzic into 109.101. I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, Dylan Warren is cooking here in Canada. Storm, look at this. As Kundingolo about to cross the line for FVR, goes P8 for him. Jack Glavity, Dylan Warren's teammate, crossing the line right about now into P12 and is out of qualifying. Alvaro Carasson is going to get his 200s down in Sector 1. This could be the end of Alvaro Carasson if he doesn't find something in Sector 2 and Sector 3. Breaking hard, 400s up on his personal best. It's going to be enough to knock out Isfan Pookie at the moment. A few hours from Dan. What's happened?
Oh, Leonard Gertz has spun out the final corner as he was improving by about 3 tenths on his lap. That sees him out of qualifying, unfortunately, and it's not gone well for VSR at all. Both drivers eliminated from qualifying.
Absolutely so unfortunate for VSR, sorry. Carasson crossing the line now and sees himself just about through into qualifying session as Leroy Brown into P13. He's out of qualifying. Isfan Pookie's going to need something. He's backed out as well, I believe. Yes, he has. And that is going to be your grid out for Q2. Luke Smith, I think. Yes, he is. Sorry, Luke. Yes, he is. Sorry.
He's done it. He's got himself in towards the final parts of qualifying. P8 for Luke Smith, eliminates Tamas Gal. Both Parnell racing drivers going out in Q2. 11 and 12 for them. Jack Laverty 13, 14 for Leroy Brown and Leonard Gertzer in 15. That was a very last gasp effort from Luke Smith there, and he's managed to see himself in towards the final parts of qualifying. Very well done indeed. That Race Clutch have both of their runners. They've been plagued with qualifying issues throughout this season, but it's good to have now both of their runners in the final parts of qualifying and in towards Q3.
Absolutely so. Dylan Warren once again topping the timesheets here in Canada. I know he definitely has a favourite of this track and is definitely showing off here as he tops Q2 again. 2 back-to-back tops for TF10 by 300ths of a second, followed by Thomas Fronhar. Those two have a very, very spicy rivalry. Watch out for fireworks heading into turn 1, if that is the grid then. Bruno Pedreño is P3 by 800ths of a second to Shanaka Clay by 99,000 for Tomek Paradzic on debut. Gets into Q3, no questions asked there for him. Alfie Butcher is 6th with Matthijs van Erven in P7. Luke Smith is P8 with Gordon Ngolo in P9. FER getting into Q3, a very good job for him. And Alvaro Carasson was lucky not to get eliminated there. Tamas Gal 11th, Pookie, Laverty, Brown, and Gertzer all knocked out in qualifying too. And I'm going to say that one there, Dan. I think Alvaro Carasson is very, very lucky indeed.
Absolutely, just arriving in this qualifying session. He's got to put that behind him. He has to get himself geared up for the final parts of Q3. And of course, he's able to save tyres in Q1. So he should have 2 fresh sets of softs ready to utilise if anything goes wrong in his runs through here. I asked Dylan Warren at the moment, I asked Dylan why so fast, and he said Canada. So I think he does enjoy this circuit quite a bit. Dylan Warren topping Q1 and Q2. Surely it's got to be, you got to put his name in the hat for Q3.
Absolutely. So F1 Evan has put something in the chat predictions for the race commentators. I'm going to go with Dylan Warren, I think. Dylan Warren, showing some pace. He really likes his track, so I think off the bat there, Dan, I'm going to go with Dylan Warren.
I'm not too sure about that one there. I think Dylan Warren, he's only got one set left at the moment, so it's really got to be a one and done for him. I'm going to go with Room Pedreño for pole position. Of course, recently signing with Alpine Esports, he's got bags of pace and so much talent that I do think he can take pole position with him.
We'll have to wait and see until the clock strikes 0 and the checkered flag will drop. Tomek Radzic and Shanika Clay, are the first ones out in qualifying 3. 11 minutes left to go in the session as we have a shootout for pole position between Karaton, Paradzic, Ronhard, Butcher, Van Erven, Warren, Smith, Clay, Cordoningolo, and Room Pedreño. Shanaka Clay warms up those soft red wool compounder tyres heading into the final couple of corners, and Shanaka Clay is on for another good result for Williams as much as he can heading into the final couple of corners. Shanaka Clay about to start his lap for Williams Esports.
Here is then out the final corner now, getting the power down as early as possible, taking a wide run through the first part of this lap, headed down in towards turn number 1, keeping it in 4th through here, accelerating ever so slightly down into 3rd, then short shifting up into 4th to get the power down as early as possible, headed up towards turn number 3 and 4, Pont de la Corde for Shanaka Clay, very easy to validate through here, gets on the grass ever so slightly, he's a very nice run indeed, now headed in towards sector 2, Shanaka Clay with a 19.194 through here as he opens up the DRS, headed down in towards turn number 8. We'll see what he can do with some speeds. Best is up to 192 miles per hour at the braking zone. Careful to not ride the curves too much through there. Can send you into a spin, as we've seen earlier on in this session from Joost Noordijk, and that ended his qualifying session pretty early indeed as Shanaka Clay through the hairpin and off the exit of this corner. He's now on a 40.944. So headed in towards this final sector. We'll see what he can do as he heads down the casino straight, reaching speeds up to 202 miles per hour we expect at the braking zone. Shanaka Clay indeed, very nice run from him, tapping the wall on the exit of the final corner. Shouldn't scrub off too much speed for Clay, and he comes across the line immediately, sets a 1 minute 8.931. Very impressive bank from him.
So Paradzic on a 109.784. I think that's going to be a scrub set of tyres for Tomek Paradzic, but already Shanaka Clay setting the times alive with a 108.931, and that is a very, very good banker to say the least. And Shanaka Clay proving himself why he's been in F1 Esports for so long there and gets the job done in pole position so far indeed. Three more drivers come out, the 2 race clutch drivers getting into Q3. I believe that's the first time we've seen a double pairing in a Q3 for this season, which is quite a shock. Obviously, race clutch, part of the Alpine Esports development program, run their teams all the way there, so you'd expect them pretty much being Q3 every single session, but just hasn't seemed to work for them this season. But for this race, it definitely hasn't worked for them indeed.
Absolutely, with just over 8 minutes left to go in this session, only 2 laps have been done so far. Everyone else on an out lap for the time being. It'll be Alvaro Caraton, the first one up to begin his run in Q3. His teammate Shanaka Clay and Tomek Paradzic are both going to head into the pit lane. They might have had one extra fresh set of the soft compound tyre. So here comes Alvaro Caraton down in towards the first 2 corners now. Not shifting down in towards 3rd like his teammate did, but he gets as much grip as he can on the exit of turn number 2, headed in towards 3 and 4. He looks a little bit cautious at the moment. This might be a scrub set of the tyres for Alvaro Caraton, but we'll see what his sector time is. It's a little bit slower than his teammate, not by too much. However, he's going to continue on at this lap, very hesitant on the throttle out of turn number 6 and in towards 7. I think this compromises run ever so slightly down at this straight. We'll see what he can do as he heads in towards now the final sector off the exit of that right-left chicane. His sector time at the moment is about a 10th off of his teammate at the minute, so it's looking like a 9 flat for Alvaro Caraton. Josh, still a decent time indeed for him. We'll have to wait and see as he heads down the casino straight. He can find improvement in the final sector.
Absolutely. So probably going to assume that anything in the 8 is a monstrous lap time Anything in the nines is very, very good indeed. Alvaro Caraton will make his way towards the final couple of corners. We'll see what the Spaniard can do on his lap. The DRS pulls wide open for the Williams Esports driver. That's a 108.914. Gained a lot of time in Sector 3 and beats his teammates to pole position so far. Still 6 minutes and 41 seconds left to go in the session. Dylan Warren, who's top Q1 and Q2, is about to make his way through the final couple of corners as well. Rounding the final corner. Was that a little bit of a hit on the Wall of Champions? Not quite sure. He crosses the line now to the 109.678. That might have been on a scrub set as well. Luke Smith crosses the line for race clutch. P4 for him. Ruben Pedreño invalidates his time. So it's down to either Matthias van Erven or Thomas Ronros. Matthias van Erven first for Haas. He crosses the line right about now. A 108.8. Look at that from Matthias van Erven for Haas F1 Esports. A 108.830. Knocking the times alive for Williams. Quadringolo is next. I believe he's just joined into P4. Yes, he has. Thomas Ronner, the Flying Dutchman, heading into the final couple of corners. Took pole last time out at Miami. He takes P2 so far in Canada. 108.885. They're so close together, the two Hasses. They have absolutely got it on the ball so far. Alfie Butcher invalidates his time. Tomek Perantic will go again to a 1 minute 9.784. I believe he is going for one more lap. He was on an out lap. And I think that is everyone else. Shanaka Clay crosses the line. He's invalidated as well, Dan.
Yeah. So everyone else now coming back into the pit lane. Shanaka Clay's time, I don't believe there'd have been an improvement for him there, but he is going to go on for another lap here, so we'll see what he can do. But Matthias van Erven and Thomas Ronhaar and everyone else out of the water. 1 minute 8.830. An incredible time for van Erven. He's been a little bit quiet so far in Q1 and Q2. We haven't seen too much of the Dutchman. He's been in and around that top 10 though for the entirety of it, and now he's exploded into the Q3 scene with 5 minutes left to go. If he's got another fresh set of the tyres, got to put his name in the hat now to take pole position. A lot of drivers using a scrub set of the tyres. Quadringolo, Dylan Warren, Luke Smith and Tomek Perantic. I'd imagine that's not on a fresh set of the tyres. We'll have to wait and see what they can do once they get their tyres in order. As got a Williams, Shanaka Clay out the final, out of the hairpin. Alfie Butcher coming up towards the line now though for RAG. Can he get himself on that front row? No, he can't. 1 minute 0.498. It's a little bit slower than Tomek Perantic. She just come across the line with 1 minute 9.404. Those two will definitely have to improve by a good few tenths. They want to be competing for pole position. Josh, there's a big chasm between the 4th and the 5th, so it seems like Haas and Williams just clear at the minute.
Haas and Williams are clear indeed, and it's clear by quite some way, about 5/10 of a second to everyone else. We'll get up the leaderboards for you there. Look at that. A 10th between 1st and 4th for Shanaka Clay, Haas and Williams. And then it's just about 5 3/4 of a 10th between Tomek Perantic and Matthias van Erven, and 4/10 between Perantic and Clay. What is happening to the bottom half of Q3? And Haas and Williams are absolutely pulling away from this here. Dream qualifying session for those two, and you might just wonder, this might be the way it goes in the race, unless these drivers have set it on a scrub set of tyres. We don't know that just yet. We might try and infer it from the times we've been doing, the times we've been seeing in qualifying 1 and qualifying 2, but so far they are really going to have to get their heads in the game if they want to try and get through into qualifying 3. As we get into the pit lane, 3 minutes left to go in the session, Dan. It's the calm before the storm.
Yeah, absolutely, it's a ghost town out on circuit. It's going to be littered with Formula 1 cars very soon. The first one making their appearance out onto the track, and the floodgates open because more drivers coming out of the pit lane. I believe both Alpine cars have exited the pit lane behind Shanaka Clay, the first runner out on his final fresh set of soft compound of tyre. He's followed by Luke Smith, then Pedreño, then he's got his teammate Alvaro Caraton just behind Dylan Warren, so the 5th man out on two halves in this final part of Q3, as most drivers just exiting the pit lane now. So the 2 Haas runners, one of the Ferraris, one of the Alfa Romeos and the McLaren, there will be the final guys to set their laps. Big differences at the moment between this field. Currently the field spread, I'm just going to have a look here, Josh, is 9/10 of a second between Van Erven and Luke Smith. It is a lot wider than we are used to seeing, but now with everyone on a fresh set of soft compound tyres with just 2 minutes left to go in this session, we're going to see that rapidly close.
It's anyone's game. Once again then, here in qualifying for Q3 of the Canadian Grand Prix here in the PSGL E-Series. Place your bets, we're ready to go. With Shanaka Clays, he crosses the line right about now to start his final run. Here in qualifying 3, heading into turn 1 there. Fourth gear action as he flicks to the left and a flick towards the hairpin for the right-hand side. Down to third, up to fourth immediately to get that traction down. Fifth, through to sixth, through into 7, just heading 7th there, to a flick back to the right and a flick back to the left, heading on towards the curves as tight as you can towards those barriers as you head into the Sector 1 Delta time. 37 thousandths of an improvement for Shanaka Clay. Will not be at P1 so far, but he's hoping for something big into Sector 2 and Sector 3. Needs about a 10th for pole position to match Matthias van Erven, a 10th and a little bit more for pole position. Flick towards the right and a flick towards the left into Sector 2. Nice and tidy there under the Rolex barriers. You head under the hairpin. Robert Kubica having a massive crash in 2007. Knocks him out for a race. 23 thousandths up in the Sector 2 for Shanaka Clay. He's lost time. He's going to have to find something big in Sector 3 if he wants this pole position going. He's going to get a little bit of a tow from the Alfie Butcher machine of the RHG car of Alfie Butchers, we should say, into the Wall of Champions. Then a flick towards the right and a flick towards the left. The number 79 Williams is about to cross the line now. Does he find anything in Sector 3? He crosses the line. It's P2. 1 minute 8.866. That is so close indeed. We move over to Tomek Paratic. A flick to the right and a flick to the left out of the Wall of Champions. What can he find? He is on an outlap at the moment, I believe. Luke Smith and Ruben Pedrenio next across the line. Ruben Pedrenio crosses it now. It's P2 for him. 8.832. 2 thousandths away from Matthias van Erven. Look at that. Caraton next. He goes P3 with an 8.834. Look at that. How close is this? 4,000 between first and third. Here comes Dylan Warren. He's on an outlap as well. Here comes Gordon Ngola. Then will be next across the line. 4 tenths up a new improvement. Through to the right, through to the left for the FDR man, the lone FDR driver in qualifying 3. He crosses the line right about now. P6 for him. A 108.966. Here comes the 2 hats then. Matthias van Erven crosses the line. So does Thomas Ronner. He does not get to the line in time. He cannot get a lap. Thomas Ronner loses it on the last little bit of meter and will not set another lap in qualifying 3, as all times will now go to right to the very end. Alfie Butcher is next.
Alfie Butcher now headed through the final 2 corners. He invalidates through there and he crashed into the Wall of Champions. Alfie Butcher out of qualifying now. And RHG, their day not going according to plan. Tomek Paragas, hopefully that Alfa Romeo isn't going to distract him too much. He manages to go through it there. He's going to remain in P7 despite improving by over 0.3 of a second. Up next now is going to be one of the race clutch drivers. It's Luke Smith, but unfortunately he's invalid and he spears into the outside wall. A lot of carnage down at the Wall of Champions this evening. Up next, Alvaro Caraton pulling into the pit lane, and all eyes will be on Dylan Warren, who's invalidated on his lap. So surely Matthias van Erven also invalid through here, but I don't believe that it is going to matter. He will be on pole position this evening by 0.002 of a second ahead of Ruben Pedrenio. Look at the gaps between the top 3, separated by 4 thousandths here. Incredible stuff.
Absolutely incredible, and for the first time this season, Matthias van Erven is on pole position for the Haas F1 Esports team. What a time that is. 2 thousandths to Ruben Pedrenio in P2, 4 thousandths to Alvaro Caraton in P3, and Shanaka Clay sits P4, about 300ths back from there. Thomas Ronha could not get another lap in as he just misses out by the checkered flag. Gordon Ngolo is P6 with Tomek Paratic in P7 or 109.031. We'll get to all the results there. It's Alfie Butcher in P8 who crashed on his last attempt. Dylan Warren invalidates in P9. Luke Smith crashes out as well on a 109.748. But for the first time this season, if you look at those gaps, Matthias van Erven is a PSGL F1 E-Series pole sitter, Dan.
Yeah, but he's ahead of Ruben Pedrenio in P2. A good day for race clutch and qualifying. Shanaka Clay and Alvaro Caraton make it a Williams second row with Thomas Ronha in 5th alongside Gordon Ngolo. Very impressive qualifying from the Spaniard, and FVR is certainly going to be pleased with his performance. He'll be alongside Tomek. I'll be just ahead of Tomek Paragas, who's alongside Alfie Butcher. A pair of them setting their lap times late as possible. Then Dylan Warren and Luke Smith rounding out that top 10. Lots of carnage at the end of Q3. Lots of invalidations. I think the pressure got to a lot of the drivers this evening. They got to forget about qualifying. It's going to be 36 laps around this circuit. Gilles Villeneuve Race of attrition tonight. These guys, certainly they have to handle it.
Absolutely. So we're about to get ready for the race. We're going to go straight away into the dusk of Canada. Not sure what happened there. I think a few more drivers starting to leave, so we might have a lobby restart. I'm not quite sure. I will not say anything just yet, but I will check the Discord as we go in about 10 seconds time. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I will wait and see. I don't think. Yes, we do have a restart. Apologies for that. There restart for Joost Noordijk's unfair penalty. So we will be back in a few moments' time. But this is not the race. We'll come back to you after a word from our sponsor. Welcome back then, ladies and gentlemen, to the PSGL E-Series. We're going to head straight into the race, and if you have just missed qualifying, where the hell have you been? It is Matthias van Erven for the first time this season on pole position with Ruben Pedreño in P2. Caraton sits P3 with Shanaka Clay in P4. Thomas Ronha sits P5 with Gordon N'Golo in P6. Tomek Baradzic is P7 with Alfie Butcher in P8. Dylan Warren sits 9th. Luke Smith rounds out the top 10 with Thomas Gal in 11th. Istvan Pukki sits P12 with Jack Laverty in 13th. Leo Brown is 14th. Leonard Goetze sits P15 on debut. Conor Muir is 16th. Joris Nordijk is 17th. Mikko Suyano is 18th. And Felipe Sousa and Modestia Mena rounds out the back of the field as we have gone to the 5 red lights. Right about now, get ready. It's the Canadian Grand Prix as we head for the lights then. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 red lights at Canada. They go out and we are racing here in Montreal. So good start from Matthias van Erven, immediately led by Ruben Pedreño into P2. The two Williams trying to join the fun and almost Shanaka Clay, I think that was forcing out his teammate of Alvaro Caraton. Look at Thomas Ronald trying to go round the outside out of everyone. Up into P4, dispatches of Clay. Heading up towards the line now then. He's hungry for more little bits as he wants to have a look for Alvaro Caraton. Not quite finding the deal. Matthias van Erven leads with Pedreño in P2. Caraton is 3 with Ronald 4th. Clay is 5th. Gordon N'Golo is 6th. In trouble at the back. That's Mikko Suyano and Felipe Sousa's on a tangle at the starters of Alvaro Caraton. And Thomas Ronald continue to battle. They go side by side. 3 wide. Almost goes to 2 Williams. And Thomas Ronald has been dispatched by Shanaka Clay. Shanaka Clay retakes back the P4 that he lost. And Thomas Ronald has to do it all over again. But Matthias van Erven leads. Pedreño is 2nd. Caraton 3rd. Clay 4th. Ronald 5th. With Gordon N'Golo 6th. Baradzic 7th. Butcher in 8th. Make that Butcher 7th now. As almost all the contact made is someone's lost their wing. I think that might be a Red Bull of Dylan Warren as Butcher's 9th. 10th is Smith. Van Erven leads.
Van Erven having a very nice start indeed. Ruben Pedreño managing to hold on to P2 as now Carnage further back behind. It seems like Luke Smith and Alfie Butcher going to have a scrap towards turn number 12 and 13. Very hard to go side by side through there. And Luke Smith soars around the outside of Alfie Butcher. And actually Luke Smith comes into the pit lane, so it was him that takes that wing damage. And it's not going well for the race clutch representative of Thomas Gal and Istvan Pukki having a scrap headed in towards turn number 1 and 2. The two teammates not going to be looking to fight this early on through here and benefit at all from doing so as Dylan Warren, Josh, seems to have bagged of pace at the minute. He's right on the rear of Tomek Baradzic. Once DRS gets enabled next time by, he could be all over the back of him, headed down in these straights as Thomas Ronald getting close to the rear of Shanaka Clay. It seems like the Dutchman is the quicker driver at the moment, but headed down this straight, Shanaka Clay able to pull away ever so slightly. Race will begin to stabilise at the end of lap number 1, headed in towards lap number 2 to hit sector 3.
Felipe Sousa, Luke Smith and Mirko Soriano all having troubles at the start alongside, I believe, Leonard Goetze maybe is Dylan Warren. There he goes down the inside of Tomek Baradzic. He's on a roll. Here is Dylan Warren. Let him cook it. He will serve. Dylan Warren up into P7. Dispatches of the F1 Esports driver of Tomek Baradzic. He is down into P8 and has it all to do once again. Does he want to have a look up the inside? Surely not. And thinks about that later on. He's going to have to think about that a little while longer. Is Istvan Pukki always hungry as well? Alfie Butcher is into the pit lane as well. That might be 4 damage as well. Everyone really heading into the wars in these early stages of the races. Butcher having severe problems as well. Sousa takes the fastest lap of the Grand Prix with a 1 minute 12.630. Matthias van Erven leads then. Pedreño is P2. Can't get my words out today. Caraton 3rd. Shanaka Clay is 4th. Thomas Ronha sits P5. And with a great score for VIA FBR so far with Gordon N'Golo sitting P6 and already will be taking away that P10 spot and will give it to SRT. Dylan Warren now sits P7 and is hungry for something a little bit more as Tomek Baradzic trying to hold back as much as he can. We'll flick on over with the Red Bull man as we can. Towards the circuit, then he's got Thomas Ronha just in front of him after he dispatches Gordon N'Golo. It's a great around the right-hander. Dylan Warren has got a lot to do, but he has a bag of pace. We've seen that in Q1 and Q2 as he lights up the rears, and DRS is now enabled.
Headed down at this straight is where we're going to see plenty of overtakes as Thomas Ronald gets close to the rear. Shanaka Clay will see he's able to do it down this double DRS zone, but of course being in that train it pretty much nullifies the effects of DRS as Matthias van Erven snags the fastest lap of the race. Bit of a lot of carnage so far in this race. We've seen Luke Smith and Alfie Butcher and I believe Mirko Soriano coming into the pit lane. But it's not the end of the world given how short this pit lane is, and it completely cuts out the first corner. So don't count these guys out just yet. They're going to have a lot to do in this race. They want to get a decent result, but there's no point in retiring. You don't get points, and there's points for every single position. As Luke Smith, on a set of the medium compound tyres, now takes the fastest lap of the race, so he's having to swap to an alternative strategy if he wants to get his way back into this Grand Prix. Going to be hoping for a safety car at some point to bunch the field back up together on lap number 4. Still plenty of time in this race for that to happen. For the time being, looks to be a little bit more calmer than what we saw at the beginning of the race. Everyone has settled into their rhythms. They're going to think about these tyres, saving them for as long as possible. Once again, it's going to be the strategy of hards to mediums, pretty much what you want to be on for the entirety of this race. Massimo Van is beginning to stretch healthy advantage to Rubinho, and he's keeping him at arm's length. Van Erven's doing a very good job of controlling this race.
Absolutely so, as here comes Dylan Warren, on Cordon down the inside. He would go, gets the better run out of the Wall of Champions, and job done. Dylan Warren up into P6. His next opponent is Thomas Ronald. We all know how that ends. They have some spicy battles over the years on Xbox. They've had some spicy battles quite recently over in France on the PSGL F1 platform. Luke Smith sets the fast lap of the Grand Prix, immediately replaced by Alfie Butcher on the medium, so 12.178. Luke Smith, Alfie Butcher, and Miko Soriano probably will have to come into the pits once again. No way those mediums will last for about 30 laps unless they nurse them to absolute death. Dylan Warren then up to P6 at the moment, now hunting down Thomas Ronald, who's currently hunting down Shanaka Clay for P4 as well, as they head out under the hairpin, getting the traction nice and easy. And Thomas Ronald will have another shot at Shanaka Clay, but the question is, when does he want to do it? He's probably going to have to prioritise this final couple of corners to maybe try and get something done into turn number 1. He already pulls out to the right hand side to make Shanaka Clay a little bit nervous as he heads towards the right and a flip towards the left. Pretty even out of the exit. Maybe Thomas Ronald a little bit quicker, but not a lot in it. As they head into turn 1, does he want to have a look down that inside? Not quite far, and not quite close enough to make a little bit more of a move. You have to wait and see, as Dylan Warren is now right up his rear wing.
It's in Thomas Ronald's best interest, I think, to get by Shanaka Clay. It stops the two Williams drivers from slipstreaming off of each other and disrupts their system that they have planned out at the minute. So far, they are the strongest team at the minute, sitting 3rd and 4th, as though Haas sitting 1 and 5. Very nice quarter points from them at this point in the race. However, Thomas Ronald, he'll want more. He'll want to be on that podium, really to bring Haas up the order, because with the racers running down, Williams are still stretching the advantage. They have to take every single point away from them as possible. Is now headed in towards the hairpin. Ronald gets close to the back of Shanaka Clay. He's got plenty of ERS to play with, as does Shanaka Clay though. So headed down this straight, I don't think Thomas Ronald's going to be burning it all to try and get by, because Clay can just respond with his own ERS deployment. As Dylan Warren, as I said, Josh, he is getting close to the back of Thomas Ronald, but for the time being, no battles are taking place. It is a long race here, only on lap number 7 that we've just begun, so still 30 laps left to go in this Grand Prix, 29 laps. So yeah, don't expect too many overtakes at this point in the Grand Prix, because you can't win it on lap number 7. You've got to go the full different distance. As I said earlier, Josh, it's a race of attrition, so I have to see who is the most durable.
Absolutely so. Thomas Ronald versus Dylan Warren versus Shanaka Clay is the battle we're looking at so far. 2.5 tenths between Clay and Ronhart, and about 4 tenths between himself and Dylan Warren. We're flipping over to the T-Cam of the Haas F1 Esports drivers. They're heading towards the right-hander. Not enough there into that one. Probably you're looking at a little bit scary moments for Thomas Ronhart, but yeah, as you were saying there, a little bit of a ballsy move if you want to have a look there down the inside, and if you want a slam dunk penalty. Running towards the hairpin comes Thomas Ronhart. Dylan Warren getting a pretty nice and tidy exit as well. The two titans of league racing, come into battle once again. Shanaka Clay versus Thomas Ronhart versus Dylan Warren. They head out of the section hill for the Wall of Champions. Through the right and through the left they come. DRS will be enabled for Shanaka Clay and for Thomas Ronhart and for Dylan Warren. Everyone will get the DRS. Jack Laverty with a 3-second time penalty. Not enough doing for Thomas Ronhart on that occasion. We flip back to the right hand side. Thomas Ronhart just so eagerly close to the back of Shanaka Clay at the moment. As we flick on over to Shanaka Clay, just riding aboard with him, seeing what his lines are like. As there goes, oh my goodness me, a few little issues we'd had there. I thought I've heard someone's going straight in towards the wall. We head out of the exit of Sector 1. Thomas Ronhart frantically pushing Shanaka Clay out the corners.
He's got 100% in the battery. He can use it when he desires. However, I think he's just waiting for Shanaka Clay to make a mistake. But given the pace of Clay and his heritage in league racing, it's going to be a long time before he does. Is now in towards the hairpin. There you go. Ronha closing up ever so slightly. If he sends it in this corner, will kill all momentum that he has down the straight. And that's why we don't see too many overtakes through turn number 10. He's actually lost a little bit of time off the exit of this corner. I think he ran a little bit deep through there. Is now opening up the DRS, and it's what we've come to see for pretty much the entirety of this race. They're getting close, but given that the DRS train is in effect, no one is able to overtake. So a lap ago, Jack Laverty took the first 3-second time penalty of the day, and I doubt it is going to be the last. As now Thomas Ronhoff gets very close to the back. Janaka Clay headed down in towards turn number 1, really applying the pressure to the Williams runner. We'll see what he can do off the exit of turn number 2, headed up towards Pont de la Corde. Is he going to go for this move, possibly off the exit through here? If he gets a good run, he could maybe look to the outside of turn number 5 and then have the inside through turn number 6. But Thomas Ronhart all over the back of Shanaka Clay at this point in the Grand Prix. Now down in towards turn 6 and 7. Will he get a good exit? Can he challenge the back of the Williams? And the answer is no. He's going to sit back for the time being. He's used a little bit of the battery, let Clay know he's there, and he'll try again in a few laps' time.
Yeah, not the greatest of exits for Shanaka Clay out of the Wall of Champions. Thomas Ronner was rising and rising like a demon, just could not get the job done. A little bit of a ballsy move, if you ask me, if he wanted to have a look down the inside into turn 1. He's going to get another launch out of the hairpin, though, and maybe another chance will occur himself if he gets another exit like that out of the Wall of Champions. Lap number 9 of 35 will soon turn into lap 10 of 35. As we have some more cooking going on later on in the show. To the right and to the left comes Thomas Ronner. Does he get another launch like he did last time? Pretty decent launch, but about even once again. Thomas Ronner just a little bit quicker out of the final couple of corners, only by a couple of hundredths of a second. And that's for now. It's not enough to make himself up into P4. Alvaro Caraton is in P3. He's currently hunting down Ruben Pedreni in P2, and Matthias Van Erven had a pretty quiet one so far. Has kept an 8 to 7 cents gap to Ruben Pedreni at the moment. Pretty happy to stay in the lead. Leroy Brown with a 3-second time penalty added to his name as well, but was still stuck to this battle for P4. Clay versus Ronner versus Warren, and once again just starting to close up the gap a little bit as Shanaka Clay starts to work those engines a little bit more, starts to work those ERS a little bit more. You can see there 60% plays to Thomas Ronner's 81, about to 80-79. Dylan Warren on about 84%. He has the healthiest battery of the lot so far as they head into the hairpin. A lovely camera angle there as we head out of the final couple of corners, heading in towards the line there, up to 4th, through the 5th, through the 6th, through to 7th as well. The DRS will hit you right in the face for Thomas Ronner as he heads out of the slipstream in towards the back straight then. Shanaka Clay is under pressure from Thomas Ronner, and Dylan Warren is trying to pressurize Thomas Ronner as well. So he flicks towards the right, a flick towards the left, a beautiful exit for Thomas Ronner. Now he's all over the back of the Williams. Troy, now this is the chance for Thomas Ronner to take P4 away. He pulls to the right hand side. Does he go for the outside line? Shanaka Clay's going to defend it all he can, pushes him out the outside, goes Thomas Ronner, muscles his way through. Side by side they still go. Shanaka Clay still there around the outside. A beautiful camera angle once again. Shanaka Clay around the outside, but just has to admit defeat, and Thomas Ronner gets the job done. Up into P4, but it's still not done yet, as Shanaka Clay still tries to fight this as much as he can. Down the inside he will go, the tree sort of blocking away, but Thomas Ronner might have just got this done. He has got this done. Lost a lot of time, but Thomas Ronner up into P4.
Shanaka Clay's burned a lot of his battery now and could be at the mercy of Dylan Warren. We'll have to wait and see. And now Thomas Ronhart has lost DRS to Alvaro Caraton in front of him. Surely this is Dylan Warren's opportunity to strike. He's all over the back of Shanaka Clay, headed in towards the hairpin. He's going to pull to the right hand side and dive up the inside of the Williams. Can he make this move stick off the exit of the corner? They're going to run wheel to wheel in the track zone. Almost a little bit of contact between the pair of them. Dylan Warren has so many more resources to use to his advantage. He's going to get by on Shanaka Clay now. In the space of one lap, has lost 2 places in this Grand Prix. Dylan Warren is in his best interest to stay behind Thomas Ronhart and get back within that DRS range of the top 3, because all of those guys, they are beginning to get close. But Dylan Warren going to respond right back and head in towards the inside line at turn number 1. A little bit of contact with himself and Thomas Ronhart. Ronhart off the circuit, and now Shanaka Clay looks back towards the outside line. Dylan Warren muscled his way through. He's up into P4. Shanaka Clay trying to make this move stick once again on Thomas Ronhart, but the pair of them now, they are down the order. Thomas Ronhart remains in P5 despite all of that work. Shanaka Clay lost 2 places in this one, and all this has done for them is burn their battery.
Absolutely so. The worst scenario for Ronhard. Dylan Warren muscles his way through. Ronhard outbreaks himself and has to cut the curves and just about stays within the DRS of Dylan Warren. Shanaka Clay down to P6 as currently under pressure from Gordon N'Golo as well. And this is all rise in the matter of about 2 to 3 laps. Dylan Warren up into P4 then now can try and help with Alvaro Caraton and Ruben Pedreño and also Matthias van Erven, who's lead this way for quite some time. We'll flick over to P3 then with Alvaro Caraton, who's trying to put some pressure on Ruben Pedreño as they head up towards the back straight then. Dylan Warren currently muscles his way through in the background, looking ominous as usual into the DRS zone. Here will come Alvaro Caraton versus Ruben Pedreño versus Matthias van Erven, and Matthias van Erven is under a little bit of pressure from Ruben Pedreño as those tyres start to die out ever so slightly. Matthias van Erven will hopefully try and keep that gap to a nice advantage for his sake. For Ruben Pedreño, he's going to have to try and push a little bit harder if he wants to try and close back up that little bit more time gain.
Yep, don't forget about Alvaro Caraton in this one as well. He's got 97% in his battery and he's just sitting pretty behind Ruben Pedreño at the minute. Pedreño still has plenty of battery though. He's got 82% in his Alpine. Van Erven just under 70% at the moment in his Haas, but Van Erven, he's done a fantastic job so far in this Grand Prix of controlling this race. Ruben Pedreño though, he's not really gone for any moves. They've just sort of settled into a rhythm. They're saving tyres at the minute to go as long as possible with 12 laps into this race. On lap number 13, still so much time left to go. I think we're nowhere near the halfway point at the moment as Alvaro Caraton at the exit of the hairpin, he sees an opportunity to go for a move on Ruben Pedreño. Of course, these two have a very good relationship. The fellow countrymen could be looking to do battle, headed down towards 12 and 13. Caraton can prioritise a good exit through here. It could be all over the back of Pedreño, but in the dirty air, it's very difficult for him to make that move stick, and he's burnt about 30% of his battery. No move has been made.
Absolutely so, and Alvaro Caraton just caught, as you said, Dan, in the dirty air and just lost all his time that he had, about 4 tenths of a second, and now has to make that time all back up as Ruben Pedreño starts to bubble back up, or some of that. Matthias van Erven heading back down the back straight as he heads out of the Sector 1 Delta, flick to the left and a flick to the right for the Alpine driver, the closest they've been to a win for many moons in this series. And this could be the time for Ruben Pedreño to really show and flex his muscles. This could be a battle for strategy. When will Race Clutch start to deliver those pit stops phases, or will they try and respond to Haas? We've got lap 14 at 35. We'll probably see them in the next 10 or so laps, maybe even less than that. 8 to 7 laps is my prediction, but I'll have to wait and see when they will decide to pit and when they decide to stay out. Ruben Pedreño in the DRS of Matthias van Erven, as he has been all the way through this race, really sticking to the back of the Haas. Not quite close enough for anything going this time around, but if he gets a good exit, he could be really in the deal here, as he sort of is. He's losing a little bit of time out of the exit, getting that all back up to the DRS as he closes and closes and closes and closes. Not quite close enough, but Thomas Gal is the first one in the pit lane.
It's an early pit stop, I'd say, from Thomas Gal, given that he started on the hard compound of time. He got some wing damage along the run. Of course, it's been a very close race throughout the entirety of it. He could have had some sort of battle, but he's gonna come into the pit lane. We'll see what tyres he's fitting. It's the mediums for the AlphaTauri. The Parnell representative going to come out ahead of Luke Smith because he cuts out that first corner entirely through there. With the fresh tyres, he'll get the warm up and be ahead of Luke Smith for some time in this one. But in front of the order, Pedreño gets close to the rear of Van Erven and he's saving up the battery for a few laps here. He's got 92% in the back of his Alpine. Begun to drop Alvaro Caraton ever so slightly, but now might be looking in his mirrors at Dylan Warren. He's been the man on a charge in this race, all over the back of the Williams, but he has a slower exit, given that he went very deep into the corner. I don't believe we'll see any moves this time by. However, it's nice to see that the top six all very tight knit together. Gordon N'Golo been dropped off by the pack. Seemingly there's some little splits in the field at the minute. Relatively, it is very close throughout the entirety of it. Tomac Parajas gets a 3-second time penalty. Gordon N'Golo next up to come into the pit lane. Seems like Thomas Gal sort of sparked some inspiration for other drivers. Pulling off the undercut. We'll see where he emerges in regards to Gordon N'Golo, who is now behind his teammate down out of the top 10. We'll see what these pit stops mean for the runners up front.
Absolutely so. We'll have to wait and see how that will come out. Thomas Gal, Gordon N'Golo, Luke Smith. Gordon N'Golo and Thomas Gal have made a pit stop so far on the strategy they have decided. Luke Smith, Alfie Butcher and Mirko Soriano all getting damage at the start and having to pit on the first opening lap to flat to the front of the fielding. Alvaro Caraton versus Ruben Pedreño, and this is starting to get a little bit spicy as Caraton starts to flex his muscles a little bit more and starts to push a little bit more harder on the back of Ruben Pedreño. Dylan Warren is starting to push as well alongside Thomas Ronhart and Shanaka Clay in P6. The DRS opens up for the Williams, and so does the Alpine, and Matthias Van Erven has done very, very well to keep this grind a little bit going. Does he want to pull in this time around? No, he's not, but Ruben Pedreño, however, has got an absolutely beautiful slingshot out of the exit of the final couple of corners. Could this be the time where he tries to pull a little bit more of a move? He want to have a look down that inside. Not quite close enough, and still hoping for a little bit more. Full of battery is the Alpine F1 Esports driver of Ruben Pedreño, and still tries to push something a little bit more. But Matthias Van Erven on 64, Gordon N'Golo with a 3-second penalty. Alvaro Caraton on 75%, Dylan Warren on 46, Thomas Ronhart on 48 with Shanaka Clay on 19. I'm sure this might mean Shanaka Clay, might we see him in the pit lane in the next couple of laps. Dylan Warren, however, is starting to get close on Alvaro Caraton as well. This could be a pretty spicy battle for, I'm going to probably say, about the lead now.
Yeah, for nostalgia's sake, I think Dylan Warren fighting for the lead of a race is probably the best thing for the E-Series at the minute. He's currently sitting in P4, just behind Alvaro Caraton. However, in the next few laps, he has got quite a bit less ERS to attack with, so I think he's going to want to settle in to a rhythm, but certainly he is in and amongst this fight. Alvaro Caraton, though, Dylan Warren were to launch an attack, he could just deploy all of his battery and then come right back at him. So they will file through turns number 12 and 13. None of the leaders coming into the pits for the time being, as Istvan Pukki gets by on Tomek Paragic. Paragic seemingly struggling a little bit in this race now that he has 3-second time penalty to his name. Fair play from Istvan Pukki as well. He had a tough qualifying run, but now he's found himself in and around the top 10 places. If he has a decent pit stop, if he has a decent run, then a good pit stop through here in the medium stint, he could be very quick. His teammate Tamas Gao goes to the fastest lap of the race in 1 minute 11 from 7:07 from him. He's the quickest man out on circuit. He comes out ahead of Gordon N'Golo, who's actually been able to jump the FBR driver. Gordon N'Golo he came out of the pit lane ages ago, but I just noticed that he's come out ahead of Gordon N'Golo, who's actually been able to undercut the FBR representative, and I believe he runs in an FP7.
Absolutely, so we'll have to wait and see. Thomas Gao currently sitting P14 at the moment. We'll have to wait and see where that will come out in the mix of things, but Alvaro Caraton just further up the field is really looking on the back of Ruben Pedreño. Pedreño losing a little bit of time, but however, he's almost closer than he is, and I say that he's going to make the pass for the lead. Yellow flags further back. That's one of the RAG drivers. I think that's Alfie Butcher, who's had a little bit. It's been a torrid day for him as Dylan Warren and Shanaka Clay pull into the pit lane further up the field. Matthias Van Erven versus Alvaro Caraton. Battle of the way. There goes Caraton. Shanaka Clay and Alvaro Caraton. Make contact. Caraton has made contact with Matthias Van Erven time and time again. And side-by-side action, Matthias Van Erven battling all the way as Caraton got caught in the dirty stuff and is spinning all the way through into turn 1. And oh my goodness me, what has happened there, Dan?
I'm very unfortunate there for Alvaro Caraton. Seems like everything's just gone undone for the Williams boys today. Now that Shanaka Clay is coming to the pit lanes behind Dylan Warren, also behind Tamas Gao and Gordon N'Golo, so they have to get by the slower cars. It's not looking good at the minute for Williams. Their lead is so monumental, I think. They're not going to be too worried about this one. This race could just be a write-off heading in towards round number 7 after this one. Got to keep on going, but yeah, Ruben Pedreño, the big beneficiary in this. He didn't use too much of his battery up. He's ahead of Matthias Van Erven. He is now leading this race, and I think he plans to come into the pit lane at the end of this lap. Van Erven, I'd imagine, is going to do the same as they head into the box. Thomas Ronhart has to stay out so as to not double stack with his teammate, and I'd imagine we'll see him in the next lap or so. However, Ronhart, we do know, Josh, that he likes to go long in these races. He's always found a way to look after the tyres. We'll see what he can do as he is now leading this race. Conor Muir in P2, but Esteban Mena in P3. If the safety car came out now, just imagine how incredibly mixed up this grid would be as Dylan Warren gets by on Gordon N'Golo. He's just got to fight with Tamas Gao as Ruben Pedreño just emerges behind the Parnell representative, who now looks to be in a net P1.
Yeah, Tamascal now sits in the net P1
Dylan.
on track here, and here comes Dylan Warren having a little bit of peace on Ruben Pedreño. Side by side they go, and Dylan Warren just can't quite clean to get that job done, but he's going to get another back on the slipstream. Side by side they will go. Dylan Warren, this might be a little bit easier for him. They're still side by side almost, but Ruben Pedreño just has to stick back in, and Dylan Warren gets the job done. Now sees himself in a net P2. Tamascal now currently has the net lead of the Canadian Grand Prix, started 11th in this Grand Prix, and now sees himself in P4 and on a net P1, so pitting early, the first one to pit, might have seen himself in a good spot, but just remember he still has 4 lap fresher longer tyres than Dylan Warren. Thomas Ronard now joins the pit lane, so does Connor Muir, and I believe Medestra Mena will go 1 lap longer. We'll flick on over to Tamascal. This should be pretty easy. They will stay in front of Thomas Ronard. He leaves the pit exit now. There he is, and he's going to get swallowed up here. Is Thomas Ronard. Where's he going to rejoin is the question. He's just coming out right about now, and just in front of his teammate there, so it's not worked out for Matthias van Erven's sake. As we look to there, Tamascal has the net lead to Dylan Warren, to Ruben Pedreño, to Courtney Ngolo, to Thomas Ronard, to Matthias van Erven, to Shanaka Clay, to Isfan Pookie. That has massively changed as the two Hasses switch together.
Yeah, Thomas Reinhardt going to be struggling with the tyre warp, and I'd imagine Shanaka Clay is going to be all over the back of him, headed down this straight, as is Isfan Pookie. Now right in this fight, he's now on the same tyre life as Shanaka Clay. He's right behind him on circuit, so really well done from Parnell. Tamascal, though, he is going to fall off a cliff later on in this race, and in fact, Dylan Warren's going up the inside of him, headed in towards the hairpin. He's going to have DRS on Modesto Mena as well. A very smart overtake from Dylan Warren there. He's used up all of his battery, though, getting that move done. However, now we do have a new net leader in this Grand Prix. Dylan Warren, of all people, leading this one. He loves this circuit. Modesto Mena staying out once again for another lap. Going to give Dylan Warren a healthy dosage of DRS, headed down towards turn number 1. It's in his best interest. Put a car in between himself and Tamascal. Fast lap of the race from him. Here comes Ruben Pedreño to the outside line of the AlphaTauri. The Parnell representative going to lose another position. I think this will be a tale that is going to be repeated multiple times in this race. Van Erven is next up, and he'll have Tamas on his hit list. And we'll see what happens as they head on towards lap number 22. Laps beginning to die down ever so slightly in this race, but still plenty of opportunity for battling.
Absolutely so. Once again, Dylan Warren easily dispatches of Modesto Mena and now takes the lead of the Canadian Grand Prix. Definitely reminds me of Max Verstappen does Dylan Warren. Aggressive racing, but definitely in his best interest to win this thing. Ruben Pedreño will have a look next on Modesto Mena. Obviously on the whipping hard compound tyres, it's going to be fairly easy for Ruben Pedreño. Gets the job done. Next up is Tamascal in the AlphaTauri. He's being under pressure from Matthias van Erven. We'll flip on over to the TCAP. This could get tasty. Tamascal versus Matthias van Erven. Side by side they will go. The two Titans side by side once again, and Matthias van Erven just gets the job done. Tamascal decides to give that one up and gets the job done. Matthias van Erven up into P4. Should be an easy P3 as well. Does he go to the left or the right to Modesto Mena? He's actually going to stay put where he is. He's absolutely drained the battery, and now he's going to have to wait a little while longer. Warren leads to Pedreño to Mena to Van Erven to Gals. That is very, very easy for Matthias van Erven down the inside. He will go up into P3. Van Erven now takes the last spot on the podium as Tamascal and Ronhart and also Modesto Mena start to battle a little bit more. There goes Tamascal. That's a brave, brave move down the inside. Just about gets it done. Thomas Ronhart follows him through, counting style. And Tamascal now leads into P4. Thomas Ronhart in P5. How much longer does Thomas Ronhart now want a little bit of piece of the Tamascal cake? Not quite yet. Gal in P4. Ronhart P5.
Yep, Modesto Mena just acting as a mobile chicane at the minute. He's not pitted on 22 lap hard compound of tyres. As Thomas Parages looks to try and make a move on Shanaka Clay. Shanaka Clay really has been hard done by in this race. On my screen at least, there's quite a bit of desync there. Thomas Parages completely mounting the Parnell car of Isfan Pookie. I don't know if you saw that on your screen. Meanwhile, Thomas Reinhardt gets by on Tamascal as they head on towards lap number 24 of this race. Big gap beginning to form between the second and third position in this race. Of course, Matthias van Erven spending so much time behind Modesto Mena really has hurt his chances in this one. It could be a race between Dylan Warren and Ruben Pedreño towards the line. However, if they start battling, then Van Erven and Ronhart both going to phase into this race. It's all about saving the battery at the minute and gearing up for the final few laps in this one.
Absolutely so. There goes Shanaka Clay down the inside of Maestro Mena. What a move that was for the Williams driver. It was brave and bold. Got the job done as Istvan Pukki follows him along. Beautiful move there from Shanaka Clay. Tomek Karadzic is in his best interest to have a look down the inside of Mena as well. Gets the job done. So does Istvan Pukki. Shanaka Clay up into P7. Pukki up into P8. Tomek Karadzic into P9 as Maestro Mena defending very, very hard on the back of Leonard Gertz. Does he get it round the outside just about? And still remains in that P11. They're so close together as Joost Noordijk now rises back into this party. Side by side they will go. Joost Noordijk will have that outside line. Side by side they will go. A lot of drivers flushing all the way through and just about gets the job done. Leonard Gertz down the inside. But Joost Noordijk all the way around will get the job done. Further up the field, Thomas Ronner battling away with his teammate for P3. Ruben Pedreño battling away with Dylan Warren as well. There's battling everywhere you look here, Dan.
Yeah, absolutely. Istvan Pukki was able to get by on Shanaka Clay for P7 once again. A big gap has now formed between 6th and 7th at the minute. So now this race has completely been flipped on its head. What looked to be a solid day for Williams, almost a double potential podium in this one. Now they sit 8th and 14th. It really has gone completely down the toilet for them. They're going to have to look for next week, round number 7, of course. We'll have to wait and see how they get on. Matthias van Erven not really catching up to Ruben Pedreño for the time being, and Pedreño all over the back of Dylan Warren. I don't know if he's going to want to go for this overtake. Surely he sees, though, that Dylan Warren is low on ERS, especially down this straight. He'll notice the blinking red light on the back of that Red Bull. He's used quite a bit of his battery. Dylan Warren defending to the inside line. Ruben Pedreño has to look the long way round, headed in towards turn number 13. Warren doesn't fight that one too hard. And now we have a new leader coming up towards 10 laps to go in this one. Ruben Pedreño, he takes P1 and Dylan Warren falls to 2nd.
Absolutely, Warren very low on ERS as well, down to about 15% of ERS coming into turn number 1 there and into turn 2 and turn 3. But now it's Dylan Warren's turn for a little bit of that DRS, which is probably the cause of the switch. Dylan Warren not fighting that very, very hard indeed. We flick on over to Dylan Warren then as he's trying to push back on Ruben Pedreño. Thinking of the long game, thinking of the last lap to try and mount a move on Ruben Pedreño, who's currently 10 laps away from a first win. So is Dylan Warren. Thomas Ronner, back-to-back wins is on the cards as well. 1 second back on Dylan Warren at the moment. Matthias van Erven sits P4. Thomas Gow currently sitting P5. A great Grand Prix for Par now, after a very disappointing qualifying in 11th and 12th. Now sit P5 and P7, P6 after penalties as well, unless Gordon N'Golo can get those removed. But we flick on over to Dylan Warren versus Ruben Pedreño once again. The DRS will be in the favour of the Red Bull driver as he gets the slipstream away from the Alpine man, coming into the chicane of death, as it's been noted in the chat. Flip to the right and a flip to the left for Dylan Warren under the wall of champions. The DRS will flow once again for the British man versus the Spaniard of Ruben Pedreño. Nothing doing yet, and it's just a waiting game once again for Dylan Warren.
Yep, absolutely. As Dylan Warren, I really can go for a move given how little as at the minute. It's all about keeping Thomas Ronner at arm's length, because of course we know how quick the Dutchman can be, and he's in that slipstream, he's in that DRS. He'll be all over the back of you, and he is just about creeping into that 1 second window. I don't believe he's got it for this straight, headed down in towards turn number 8, but surely headed down the casino straight to be able to get closer to the 2 leaders. The gap has been bridged. So far, this is a race of the top 4. Tamas Gow's tyres completely falling off the cliff. The same will go for Gordon N'Golo, and I think Istvan Pukki and Shanaka Clay soon enough will be able to reel them in. As off the exit of the hairpin, Thomas Ronner does indeed have DRS now on Dylan Warren's Red Bull. We'll see what he can do as he gets closer to the rear. He's going to be a long way back for an overtake. It'd be a big surprise if he went for a move from 0.8 of a second to the rear of the car in front. As Dylan Warren, he gets close to the rear of Ruben Pedreño. Shanaka Clay once again swaps places with Istvan Pukki, compare them, seemingly doing so throughout the entirety of this second stint. But on lap number 28 of 35, Ruben Pedreño, he's still leading the way. He's got plenty of ERS to play with as well. 55% in his Alpine. Dylan Warren with 14%, Ronholt 19%, Van Erven with 11%. Seems like advantage for Pedreño.
Absolutely so. At this moment in time, Ruben Pedreño definitely looking likely that he has played this very, very well indeed. And Dylan Warren is going to try and charge up that battery as best as he possibly can. 14% pace to Ruben Pedreño's 57, and I'm sure he's going to save that all for the last lap and absolutely drain it right at his, well, when he needs to be honest. Thomas Ronhaar sitting on a 17%. He's also not looking great to the end, and Matthias van Erven as well, not looking great either. So it's only really Ruben Pedreño, as you said, Dan, in the best possible position at the moment. Dylan Warren and everyone behind him very, very low on the ERS. This is going to be what it's like to the end then. About 7-8 laps still to go in this race. Pedreño versus Warren versus Ronhaar versus Van Erven right until the end. 4.5 seconds back is Tamascal in P5. Here we go then, lap 29 of 35. Pedreño will start this one off. To Dylan Warren in P2, Ronhaar is P3, Van Erven is P4. And Ronhaar and Van Erven have to be very, very careful of this, because if they get close enough to Dylan Warren, they don't want to attack so much that they lose a lot of time to Ruben Pedreño. They don't want it to be the end of the race and thinking what could have been.
Well, one thing that these guys also need to be careful of is the track limits. At the moment, I've just checked the race director. Ruben Pedreño has got 1 warning. Warren, Ronhaar and Van Erven all have 2 warnings. So if they go off circuit at any point for the remaining laps of this Grand Prix, we've got 7 to go in this one, then they're going to get a 3-second time penalty and be sent out of the fight for the win of the race. Whoever is able to keep it clean, we're taking victory in this one. As off the exit of the hairpin once again, Dylan Warren not on the battery at all. He's saving up the ERS. He's now on 22%. It's very difficult around a circuit like this. Not too many heavy braking zones, some long straights as well, so battery recharge is very tricky around here. You have to manage it well if you want to have a fighting chance throughout the entirety of this race. Ruben Pedreño seems to be in the best position for that, as Thomas Ronhaar all over the back of Dylan Warren headed in towards turn 1. There you go. He just seems to be a lot more confident on the brakes, of course, getting used to his new pedals. Thomas Ronhaar, that's why we've not seen him completely streak away at the front of the order. We'll see what he can do, as now Dylan Warren, I think, instead of looking forwards, he's got to look in his mirrors at Thomas Ronhaar. 2-lap fresher tyres strapped onto the Haas, and surely in the next few laps will be all over the back of him.
Absolutely so. Dylan Warren versus Thomas Ronhaar. We've seen this so many times in the past, both on Xbox and on PC. These guys have shared the stage for many a year, and it's absolutely beautiful to see them on the stage, on the biggest PC championship stage, teams championship stage we've had for many a year as well. Thomas Ronhaar versus Dylan Warren versus Ruben Pedreño versus Matthias van Erven for a 5-lap dash here in Canada. We ride on board with Thomas Ronhaar at the moment, currently gliding away with Dylan Warren, who's closing up to the back of Ruben Pedreño. Matthias van Erven waiting in the wings if something bad happens. We flick on over to Dylan Warren, then Luke Smith with a 3-second time penalty. It's all gone bad for Luke Smith tonight, just so unlucky. We'll still be bringing home a couple of points for him. Shanaka Clay moves up to P6, dispatches of Corda Ningolo for P6. And hopefully he can try and catch up to Tamascal as well. Lap 31 and 35. Pedreño still having that lead, but look at Pedreño, Warren and Ron are so close indeed. This is going to be very close indeed. Flick to the right and flick to the left for Dylan Warren, trying to close up as best he can to Ruben Pedreño. He's used up a little bit of that ERS. He's tried to charge it as much as he can. It's much better than it has been for quite a while. Butcher with a 3-second penalty as well. Ron has charged his just as much as Dylan Warren. Ruben Pedreño on 60% as well. So in a matter of a few laps, it's got a little bit more closer, Dan, than it has been for a few years. For a few laps. And all of a sudden, it's starting to crawl back in the hands of Ronhaar and Dylan Warren, and maybe not Matthias van Erven, but definitely those two drivers.
We'll have to wait and see. We're coming up to 4 laps to go in this race. I tell a lie, it'd be 3 laps to go. No, 4 laps to go at the end of this one. As Corda Ningolo is overtaken by Istvan Pukki. Of course, we saw in the first stint, Dylan Warren pulled what can only be described as a Brexit overtake on Thomas Ronhaar. If it's going to be a Brexit defence, we'll have to wait and see, as now they head in towards turn number 1. No one's really close enough to make an overtake. It's very difficult to dive through here, given it's a 4th gear corner. You know, it's not a very heavy braking zone, and the apex comes at you very fast indeed. As headed on towards lap number 32 of this one, Alvaro Carreton gets by on Leonard Goetze, but does have a 3-second time penalty to his name. There's a lot of runners with penalties in this race. It's 8 drivers, but all of the top 7 keeping it clean. I'm still feeling a little bit anxious for Ronhaar, for Warren and Van Erven, because of course they have 2 warnings to their names. Ruben Pedreño is allowed 1 more track limit extension. Then after that, of course, he'll get a penalty. So he's got to be careful for the last few laps. He's headed in towards turns number 10 once again. No one looking to make a move for the time being. Everyone's charged up their battery in this top four, though. And for the last few laps, they'll be able to scrap it out.
Absolutely so, as Kundingolo and Tomac Baradzic battle away for P8 and P9. We're still going to stick to this battle for the lead for the remainder of this race, no matter how juicy that might be. We just can't get our heads around this one just yet. Thomas Ronner all over the back of Dylan Warren at the moment is really plugging away. Has the Haasman so far. We flick over to the hairpin then. Thomas Ronner versus Dylan Warren versus Pedreño versus Van Erven right until the very end. Pedreño 64% ERS. Dylan Warren 30%, Ronhard 40%, Matthias Van Erven on 20%. He's got 2 laps to try and charge it up as Van Erven. If he wants anything out of this one, this could get very tasty. You never know. Tamascal might be the one who wins this. You never know. Anything could happen in these next 2 laps. Ruben Pedreño versus Dylan Warren is starting to clutch up a little bit more nicely. But when will Dylan Warren pounce? I said we had to right at the alignment of the final lap of this race. I might just be right with that assumption. Rounding the final hairpin comes Ruben Pedreño. Dylan Warren all over the back of him so far. Got a beautiful exit out of that one. This might be the chop and change for Dylan Warren and Ruben Pedreño. That might offer. The DRS opens for Warren. Ruben Pedreño, does he have any answer? Heading into the chicane, not enough there, but he might try for turn number 1. We'll flick on over to the T-can of the Red Bull. The DRS flows in Dylan Warren's veins. He heads up into turn number 1. Is he close enough to make a move heading into turn 1? Not enough. He's going to have to wait a little while longer, Dan.
Dylan Warren, he was on the battery ever so slightly, but Ruben Pedreño was just able to respond with his own. He's got double the energy in the battery of that Alpine. Plenty to defend with on lap number 34 of 35. We'll have to wait and see how this race does end up panning out, as Dylan Warren, he is feeling the pressure from Ronhard in behind, who's been biding his time for the last few laps, but now with all these guys stacking up their energy, they've got to deploy it now. There's only 1.5 laps left to go, so if there's any time to fight, gonna be now, and then you have to stretch that advantage as Janaka Clay gets by on Tamas Gal. Fantastic job from Tamas this evening. 19 laps on those medium tyres. Brilliant undercut has worked out in his favour, but now off the exit of the hairpin for the penultimate time in this race. Dylan Warren, he sees his opportunity now. He's going to open up the DRS. Gone on the battery ever so slightly off the exit of the hairpin there. But again, Ruben Pedreño just able to respond. Headed in towards now the final 2 corners for the penultimate time in this race. Dylan Warren, will he have an answer in towards turn number 1? He's all over the back of Ruben Pedreño, but in towards the braking zone they go. Pedreño stays ahead.
The last lap then of the Canadian Grand Prix begins. Laverty with a 3-second penalty. Pedreño versus Warren versus Ronhard right up until the end with Van Erven waiting in the wings. Warren versus Pedreño starts to heat up 0.3 of a second all over the back of everyone else. They flick on over to the left-hand side. Warren all over the back of Pedreño, and so is Thomas Ronhard. The DRS opens up for the Red Bull driver of the TF10 machine. They head up towards the back straight. Is Warren close enough to try and make something out of this? Not quite enough. 0.3 is the gap between himself and Pedreño. He's got half a circuit left of racing to try and make this into a win for the first time for TF10, or the first time for Race Clutch. They head out the final couple of hairpins. This is now or never for Dylan Warren. This could change in the matter of seconds. DRS is unable for Dylan Warren. So is Thomas Ronhard. Now or never for Dylan Warren. Now or never for Ruben Pedreño. Now or never for Thomas Ronhard. Who's got braver? Thomas Ronhard is all over the back. He's going to chop to change from the right-hand side. Not enough there. But for the first time ever, Ruben Pedreño for Race Clutch wins the Canadian Grand Prix. Dylan Warren hangs on to P2. 0.06 of a second back is Thomas Ronhard. Matthias Van Erven sits it to P5. Shaneka Clay holds on to P5 with Istvan Pukki in P6. Tamascal is 7th with, oh my goodness, what has happened at the final couple of laps? Not sure, that's for penalties, I believe. Paradzic is 9th, Kutzer is 8th. Conor Muir is 10th, Karaton is 11th, but your race winner for the first time this season and their first win of the season, Race Clutch's Ruben Pedreño is your Canadian Grand Prix winner.
Yeah, Ruben Pedreño, I think it all just boiled down to how he managed his battery, because he had an answer for every attack that Dylan Warren sprung on him there, but really well done to Dylan Warren there. He gets a podium for TF10 around a circuit that he absolutely loves, so I think he'll be very pleased with his result. Thomas Ronhard rounding off the podium, 600ths back He was so close to getting him at the line, but it just wasn't meant to be. It was an incredible, hard-fought battle between the top four in the final parts of that race. And I think, Josh, to be honest, the game changer in all of that was Modesto Mena getting in the way of some of these guys and causing that disruption, because then that allowed the top four to stretch away. If Modesto Mena pitted at a reasonable time, who knows what could have happened in that race. But one thing that we do know is Ruben Pedreño, fantastic effort from him, and he takes victory in Canada.
Absolutely so. Beautiful display from Ruben Pedreño there. His first win in the E-Series, and what a way to do it for him. Gets the job done, and he is victorious here in the Canadian Grand Prix. And what a drive it was for the race clutch man. He goes ever closer to the back of Williams with two unlucky races right off in a row. Here's your results then. It's Ruben Pedreño who wins the Canadian Grand Prix to Dylan Warren in P2 for TF10. Thomas Ronha sits P3 with Van Erven in P4. Schnecker Clay is P5 with this one. Pookie in P6 with Thomas Gall on debut on P7 with Leonard Goetze in P8. Thomas Paradzic is ninth for Conor Muir in the top 10 for the first time this season. Caraton is 11th, with Leroy Brown in P12. Snorlaik is 13th, with Gordon N'Golo in 14th. Felipe Sousa sits 15th. Jack Laverty is 16th. Luke Smith is 17th. Manesha Mena sits 18th. RHG's Alfie Butcher is 19th. And Mirko Suriano with the fastest lap of a 109.947 is last of the field, and an unlucky day for him. But Dan, pretty decent race all the way through there.
Yeah, absolutely. There's plenty of battling, plenty of action throughout the entirety of it. So it was a very fun race to watch. Really well done once again to Ruben Pedreño for taking victory. Dylan Warren in second. He's got to be the standout name in this race today from P9 on the grid. Very impressed with his performance this evening. Thomas Ronha as well, rounding up the podium. It was a solid drive from the Haas man. And Haas with a 3-4. I think they are the largest scoring team in this race. It was probably going to be Williams after all that drama kicked off. They finished 5th and 11th. It's definitely been their worst race by quite some margin. Still 4 rounds left to go in this championship, but they still have a very nice lead over the rest of the field. But Williams with an off day today.
Absolutely so. Williams just not up to the races this time today. Big shock to the system, as they had a pretty nice lead still, but it's starting to slim down ever so slightly, and into the second half of the season it could get pretty tasty indeed. We head over to Abu Dhabi next week, then followed by Singapore, then Bahrain and Texas. So 4 rounds left to go in the season, and Williams are really going to have to start to get a little bit more of their results. Hopefully we can get a few interviews in. I will task the drivers if they are free for an interview, but out of that one, Dan, yeah, as we've just said, Williams are really going to have to start plugging away, but probably going into the maximum of that one. Race clutch starts to get closer, and alongside that in P2, Dylan Warren, TF10 starting to get their marks on the podium.
Yeah, absolutely. I think TF10 very impressed with their performance today. I don't believe Jack Laverty was in a favourable position, so it was really all resting on the shoulders of Dylan Warren this evening. Really hope we can talk to him. I don't remember the last time I spoke to Dylan Warren in a podium interview, pretty much ever. I mean, he's gone quiet in the last few years. I think he sort of peaked around F1 2020 in 2021. So yeah, I'm really glad to see him, back in these ways. And I hope if he is able to continue performances like this, he sort of reclaims that star boy reputation I guess he had in that 2021 era, sort of at the beginning of the PC era of F1 esports, when everyone migrated platforms. Dylan Warren was one of the quickest, but yeah, hopefully he can keep this up. He was able to beat everyone today except for one man, Ruben Pedreño.
Absolutely. We are joined by Ruben Pedreño right now in the chat. Ruben, it's your first win in the E-Series. I believe it's Race Clutch's first win as well. Sure, that's a very proud feeling.
Yeah, it's amazing. I only raced one in Imola and it wasn't the greatest. I think P16, so yeah, coming back with a win, it's a really nice feeling.
Absolutely. So you're batting all the way with Dylan, Thomas and Matthias all the way through near the end. Did you feel that any pressure added on?
Well, honestly, in the first stint, I thought that Matthias was able to draw me, from the DRS because I was a bit nervous, not gonna lie. But in the second stint, I just passed Dylan when I saw that Thomas was coming because he had one lap fresher tires than me, and just managing my tires, DRS, and go full send in the last 2 laps with DRS and stay ahead.
Absolutely. So, going into the next few rounds, then Abu Dhabi is next on the calendar. If you're chosen for race coach, you looking forward to that one?
We'll see. I don't know yet.
Absolutely. Just final thoughts there. Just what's the feeling in the race clutch camp? Obviously, you are trading to Williams at the moment. Do you think you can try and pull that off with 4 rounds to go?
It will be hard because obviously William has amazing drivers, but we'll try our best to beat them.
Absolutely. Dan, any questions for Ruben?
No questions from me, Ruben, but really well done tonight. I think I sort of figured that you were going to be winning this race for quite some time, given just how well you were able to save your battery. So really well done this evening. Abu Dhabi up next. I hope to see you back here again.
Thank you. See you guys.
Thank you very much, Ruben Pedreño there. We'll see if anyone else will come in. I don't think, unfortunately, we will get anyone else. So I think, Dan, we will leave it there for tonight. But yeah, just a summary of that one. It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was a great race. I was very happy with how this one went. It started off a little bit slow. You know, everyone was just following in a train. But once that second stint hit, everyone was on the medium tyres. Saw some undercuts coming out and drivers with, you know, differing tyre performance. It certainly awoke something in all those guys. So, yeah, happy with today.
Absolutely. Well, that's pretty much going to bring the end to the stream there. And that's the end of the Canadian Grand Prix, round number 6 of the E-Series. Stay tuned next week for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, round number 7, joins us in the deserts of the United Arab Emirates. Stay tuned, obviously, next week as well for the final 2 rounds of the PSGL F1 Series alongside Monday nights on PlayStation 4 F number 1 alongside our F2, F3, F4, F5 and F6 races on Thursday nights as well until we rejoin on Friday nights back for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix here in the PSGL E-Series. Thank you to our sponsors, GT Omega, for helping us out this season as well. Thank you to all our moderators for keeping us all respectful in the chat. Thank you to all for racing as well. And thank you all for watching us this evening and keeping all your comments respectful. We will see you next week for the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Stay tuned, stay respectful, and we will see you all later. Good night.